Welcome to Cheap Shot Cinema.
How you guys doing?
I am Zach.
I'm Mike.
You may be noticing something slightly different about what's happening right now.
You can see us. This is great.
Visuals. Really excited. This is actually going to be our first episode of the video podcast. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm really excited for the weekend. It's been a bit.
Yeah, it was.
It's been a bit.
I always get excited when we have a Friday or a Monday off because then you have a 3-day weekend and then you have a shortened week to be closer to the weekend again.
Honestly, man, it didn't feel like a very short week. I even forgot that we had Monday off until you just said that. It's been so long.
It was Memorial Day weekend last weekend.
It's been a rough week.
And yeah.
Stuff happened.
I'm trying to think. I don't even know what I did anymore. My weeks with my actual job, I wish I could tell you I do this full time, but with my actual job, it's so monotonous that everything just kind of runs together and I don't remember anything.
Yep. Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
anything.
That's all right, man. I went camping up north. We're in Minnesota, so I went up north and camped for
The
a while.
Great White North.
Man, it was great. It was really nice. So I had a great weekend.
Did you go throw stuff at Canada?
No, we weren't that far up.
Oh.
No, we're like an hour from the border, so.
See, I've always wanted to do that. Not because I have like any animosity towards Canada, but I just feel like, yeah, I was throwing stuff at Canada the other day. It would be a fun story to start with, and I'm noticing now that that's kind of where the story stops.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be a very short story. Don't worry about it.
yeah. Yeah. So, what's fun about the video and everything like that is you can see actual movement, and when I touch Mike awkwardly,
It's gonna happen a lot.
you'll notice.
It's going to happen a lot.
And having our comically large cups and mugs.
Hey, this one's
And
pretty good
toys.
right here. It's a good size.
Yeah, it works. It works. Well, we really hope you enjoy what you see. You'll be seeing more of this.
Yep.
And
You'll see Hot Ben soon, too, so
Hot
get excited
Ben
about that.
is not dead.
Get very excited.
Even though that was a rumor a few episodes back when we weren't on video.
Yep.
It's really hard to convey facial expressions when you're not being recorded.
It's true.
So that we solved that problem. So fantastic. So obviously we're here to talk about stuff. I mean, we're going to talk about stuff.
We are.
What
We're gonna
kind of
talk about lots of
stuff?
stuff.
Should we talk about?
Man, well, I mean, you could talk about Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Could talk about Star Wars.
That's true. We talked about Doctor Who, but not really going on in Doctor Who news, so.
Well, speaking of Doctor Who, I'm through Matt Smith.
Yeah, me too.
When are they like around a point where they're going to get another doctor other than this older dude? I know I feel like they just got a newer sidekick or apprentice. What do you call him?
Maisie Williams is in it. See, the problem is that neither of us have seen any of the newest guy. What's the guy's name? Older guy. I forget his name.
Know. He was one of David Tennant's episodes.
Yeah, he was in the one with Pompeii. Yeah, exactly. They saved him. He was like some Roman dude or something like
and
that.
And then he became the
I don't remember
doctor.
where Pompeii is. So yeah, it's
feel
really
like it's
weird.
in
I was
Greece,
hoping that they would make
Italy?
that into the canon and just be like, hey, that was actually the doctor the entire time, and he's just kind of playing at being a citizen. I thought that would have been really weird and trippy just to kind of mess with canon that way. But I don't think that they did that. So I'll remember his name like a minute later.
This cup's
5 minutes later. I'll remember it tomorrow. You okay there?
It needs to be fuller. I only have like this much water in there, and I have to tip it back like.
We'll get a smaller cup.
Or a straw. It's not meant to be. Whatever.
It is what it is.
Star Wars. Yes.
Yeah, Star Wars.
So, news broke today that they're going to be doing about 4 weeks of reshoots on Star Wars. Oh, I forgot the name. It's Rogue One.
Yep.
That's the name of it.
A Star Wars story.
A Star Wars story. So if you've seen the trailers for it, which if you're watching us and haven't seen the trailers for it, I mean, fantastic, great.
Yep.
Click the like button,
What is it?
button.
What is it?
And subscribe.
Really weird mouth movement you did there.
Yeah, see, you get to see that
get
kind
to
of
see that
craziness now. Somewhere over here, like and subscribe.
Somewhere down there.
Because we will turn you into a nerd if you aren't currently one. So awesome. But yeah, they're doing about 4 weeks of reshoots because apparently
I heard about that too.
Disney thinks that it's too dark.
Yeah.
And I have much opinions on that. Mike, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, obviously it sounds just like the news that we heard from Suicide Squad about a month or two back, that it was too dark and they wanted to lighten it up. And that was honestly that was more in reaction, I think, to just the mediocre reception from Batman v Superman. So, I mean,
yeah, and them trying to be more like Marvel.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that was that was a different film studio and everything like that than Star Wars. So obviously, I don't think that that's the same thought pattern that they're going into, even though it sounds exactly like the same press release as, Suicide Squad had. But I mean, it makes sense. So basically what I read was that they really just wanted to say, hey, Rogue One has the potential to end 10 minutes before A New Hope. And if it feels really different from A New Hope tonally, then obviously it's going to feel real weird, just like stuck in there. It feels like it's shoehorned in there in the timeline, and they don't want to do that. So, I mean, from that point of view, it makes sense to me that they would do reshoots to change the tone. And also, just remember, like, I know we talked about it a long time ago. I think we had a big problem with it with Ant-Man when they did reshoots after Edgar Wright left the project and everything like that. But this is different. This isn't like a fan four stick situation where they had to change what happened in the movie or anything like that. This is allegedly this is the change of the tone of the movie. So I'm not nervous about this at all. Obviously we can't see what happens in there, so we don't know firsthand what's going on, but I trust them. Obviously I think they did a fine job with Force Awakens and everything like that. So I trust them with this step. And if they feel like they need to do reshoots, then I trust that they're not getting too nitpicky being executives at the studio. What do you think?
Anytime that something like this happens, I immediately think of like, I'm never going to see the original.
Yeah,
and
true.
I want to be able to compare them.
Yeah.
And my initial thought was annoyance, because I think just in general, these studios are always like, it's got to be lighthearted and fun and people got to laugh. And no, you just don't have to, just don't suck is basically what it comes down to.
Yep.
What I think is what me and Mike were discussing previously is, what do they mean by the tone of the movie? Does it legitimately just not feel like a Star Wars movie at all? Or does it actually get down into the depths of what war actually is, with people dying, and you're sad because of that, and you feel a connection to characters that don't make it? Like, that's the kind of stuff where it's just like, to me, it's like, that's fine. I feel like the reason you should do movies like this, where this is kind of a standalone movie within the overall arc of Star Wars, and you're doing a different story and a different director, so it can have a little bit of a different tone and be a little darker and not affect the entire arc and the storyline that we're following directly. So to me, that's kind of like, to me, it just makes sense that way. Those are the kind of movies that you specifically make that way. And we keep hearing about like Boba Fett in the future. Like that should be a darker movie if they're gonna play it out, where with very little dialogue and monologue, just follow him around killing people and then taking orders from people and then killing other people. Like that's literally done. That's true. What the 2 hours of that go.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean. Like I said, I understand why they would totally want to sync the movies up at the same time. I know that we were both really excited to be like, oh, it's more like Saving Private Ryan than any other kind of movie. I think we were really excited to hear that.
Than Episode 1.
I mean, especially since we've talked about how we like Marvel movies because they're doing different genres with different directors, and just saying like, hey, Ant-Man was a heist movie, Civil War was more of a comic book movie. Captain America, Winter Soldier was more of a spy movie, stuff like that. Like, it's fun to change the tone of it, but then also, I mean, that is specifically usually directed at one or two big characters in that universe, and tonally they would feel different. So I can see both sides of the coin here. That's fine. Yeah, it's true. And like we said, like we don't see what's going on behind the scenes, so all we can do is speculate and tell you guys how we feel in our guts and see what happens. But I think it still comes down to, I do trust Lucasfilm or just Disney in general, or however you want to say it's branded, who is behind making this thing. I think that they're going to do a good job, and I think we're going to be really pleased with the final product. So they're not going to throw a Jar Jar in there and just mess it up. So when they say make it a little lighter, I don't think they're gonna just be all slapstick comedy on you.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's throwing in a joke here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which
I don't even think they're going to turn it into a Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that would be more like a Han Solo movie. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Like Han Solo Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be cool. Like a crisp. Yeah.
Well, that's
Chris
another
Pratt.
thing. They're doing it so they can shoehorn his character in, which is just mildly
I hope that's
annoying.
not true. I really do. I mean, you could show him because he was, for those of you who don't know, at least according to the old canon, which is now Legends, Han Solo was enlisted in the Imperial regiments. Basically, he was a Imperial officer, and then basically what happened is, long story short, he disliked what the Empire was doing. So he helped free a couple Wookiee slaves who were enslaved by the Empire, and Chewbacca basically got his life saved by Han Solo, and then he had a life debt with him for the rest of his life.
Life debt.
Obviously, and they became really good friends and whatnot. So there is a possibility that Han Solo is, say, aboard the Death Star, or no, because he would have known about the Death Star then. Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why, because I'm sure
Wait a second. That doesn't make any sense.
It didn't seem like he knew what the Death Star was in A New Hope. Do you think
Yeah.
so? I don't think it.
I'm trying to think.
Felt like that. I mean, he
No.
was just saying
'Cause
like,
they're
it's
like-
been blown away, so he knew
that's-
about like the potential for destruction that the Empire had, but I don't think he specifically knew what the Death Star was. So honestly, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of Imperial stuff before we see the Death Star, because that's the main plot of Rogue One. Is the Death Star plans.
So now I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it and going, it doesn't really make sense to have him in that movie because his origin story is going to be years before that.
Yeah.
So why throw him into there?
It's true. He would need to look like Han Solo.
Yeah,
And
that's
the thing is that then they would be backing up with him.
the better idea is place it about 10
What
years.
am I saying? Come on.
Place it about 10 years before
Yeah.
the Rogue One story.
Because they were saying that this movie could go up to 10 minutes before A New Hope started. So if that's the case, then Han Solo would have been out of the Empire for decades, I'm assuming, at least a decade. Because him and Chewie had all these kinds of adventures together with the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that.
Well,
so
how old was he in A New Hope, though?
there's no way he can be an Imperial.
He's
in
only
this one.
like 30 in A New Hope.
Yeah.
So he could only
Luke's like
been
18 or
He could
19.
only been out of there for
a
about
decade.
10 years.
A decade, yeah. But still, I mean, he was a smuggler for a long time before A New Hope. He gained a reputation and everything like that. He did the Kessel Run. There were so many, at least stories in the Legends.
Yeah.
That,
Let's keep talking about stuff that they're never going to use.
Yeah. But it doesn't make sense that Han Solo would be an Imperial during Rogue One. So either way, I really hope that they don't put his character in there.
This Weeping Angel looks like it's force pushing something, and it's kind of...
That would be scary if a Weeping Angel had force powers as well. Holy
Because then they
crap.
could just bring...
Yeah.
They wouldn't have to chase you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Weeping Angel's one of the better horror characters.
Yep.
Good stuff. Trying to think, anything else with Star Wars?
No.
Not really.
I mean, long story short, I'm not nervous. Are you nervous about the reshoots?
Not nervous about
No.
them. I just, like I said, it doesn't need to be what I feel like they think it needs to be. And it's just like, it's okay to go kind of away. I've always thought it would be awesome. This will never happen in a million years, but just the idea of allowing more than one director just to basically take an idea from scratch and produce the same thing with it. So that being said, I hate reboots.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hate reboots.
We all...
Hollywood has me in their pocket. I will literally watch anything.
Wow, that was a bold statement.
Okay, not anything, but I'll, pretty much any blockbuster. It's got really serious.
Honestly, I mean, they could remake Godzilla 5 times, and I'd probably watch it, because that's an awesome premise if they do it right. I mean, even though I didn't really care for the pacing or the plot necessarily of this past Godzilla movie,
The newest one?
I still bought it. I still own it. I still watch it.
The Halo
It was
jump.
awesome. The Halo jump. The part where he takes the monster's mouth
Stop
and
playing with
breathes
that.
his plasma breath down his throat. That was awesome. That was such a cool visual. I would probably watch that again just to see the Halo jump in that.
Halo jump was.
Let's
and
watch
that's-
it tonight.
That
That sounds good.
That's Edwards, isn't it?
Yeah, Gareth Edwards.
Who's doing?
Rogue One. That was a great segue.
Way to bring
Nice
it around,
work.
Mike.
Yes.
High fives.
Man, that that was good. Didn't even plan that.
If you know where the snap's from, kudos to you. I'll tell you now though. That's the Todd from Scrubs. Anybody watch Scrubs?
I saw all of Scrubs except for I didn't see the intern one.
Yeah.
I saw the rest of it. I just,
Hard pass.
I just don't remember a lot of the details in that.
Yeah.
So it was more of like it was on in the background for an entire summer in between college. Like me and my buddy just lived up here, and we would work, and then we would just watch Scrubs all summer long.
I got season 1 of Scrubs like my first year of college, and I fell in love with it.
And
it's still a really awesome show, really original. One of the more accurate, from what I'm told, one of the more accurate actually doctor.
Yeah, it's funny
procedurals,
because they got real serious in a lot of spots there. Like they dealt with a lot of heavy stuff, even if it was stupid, and a lot of times it was JD just like dreaming about things happening, and him and Turk just messing around.
There was definitely some deep moments with him and Dr. Cox and stuff like that.
Yep.
Or like in Futurama with the dog.
Oh my gosh. Futurama does get really emotional at times.
Especially in the new seasons, which actually kind of started to bug me. I was like, every episode does not need to be serious, guys. Like, because there was like 3 episodes where like Fry's reminiscing about his family in that episode where he shares a dream with his mom, and I'm just like, and the series finale was really good, but even that was like really deep, like Fry and Leela sharing their life together and stuff like that.
That was quite the season finale.
Yeah, that's one of actually the better ones. We've never talked about How I Met Your Mother.
We never did. We could talk about that right now. Honestly, though, I mean, Futurama, the problem with that is that like I wasn't prepared for the emotional moments when they happened because I didn't see them coming. And all of a sudden, it's like they got really emotional. You're like, I didn't want that.
Prepared
I was
for
laughing 2 seconds ago. How could you do this to me?
You cut from Hypnotoad to now I'm crying. Doom!
Hypnotoad. It's just like going from the Magic Man to like some kind of main character dying. And yeah, BMO. BMO falls down from time to time, so we will cry out in terror when BMO falls down.
No!
BMO a guy or a girl?
Undisclosed.
Okay. Sounds like a girl, right? If I remember correctly?
Kinda.
Maybe.
BMO's gender neutral.
He, she?
Which I'm not going to get into politicals with it.
To be fair, it's a video game, so that makes sense. And it doesn't have to have a gender.
He actually dies when they take out his batteries, and then he just falls on new batteries and wakes back up. Adventure Time.
Adventure Time's great.
Seriously.
Check it out. Just like Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty and Adventure Time.
Check that out too.
If you're going to watch 2 cartoons...
Yeah, watch
I can't
those.
even say that.
Watch those.
Watch Archer too.
I think that this would... Well, yeah, because Adventure Time's super random. I
This
think
is
Rick
more-
and Morty is like a all-around good show. Like, I mean, besides like the cursing and stuff like that, and the more scary
family
themes,
friendly.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick and Morty is
But more
like
random.
Yeah,
Rick and Morty's more like laden in science and like sci-fi genre themes, but it's also a lot more crude and a lot more adult themed, and a lot more vulgar too.
Which is Archer is pretty much all adult themed, but also joke structure in that
that's
show.
also a spy show. So
oh my gosh,
it's
amazing!
Like Spy plus The Office, maybe something like that.
Yeah, those are the new ones. I still watch a lot of. I still watch The Simpsons, not new Simpsons.
Do you want to talk about How I Met Your Mother?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Do you want to talk about how it ended, or just like the overall? I mean, we could talk about How I Met Your Mother.
I don't want to
for a
talk
while.
about it for 2 hours. So
okay, fair enough.
Let's just go with the train wreck that was the final season. So
yeah, give me your thoughts on that.
Spoilers. Spoilers if you haven't watched How I Met Your Mother. So, fast forward. I don't know what to tell you, people. Just don't listen to this. Listen to it later when we're not talking about
like
How
this
I Met
when
Your
we're done with the How I Met Your Mother thing.
Okay. So, How I Met Your Mother. Basically, we had 8 seasons of
pretty good.
Ted's dating everything, and Barney sleeping with everything, and friends intermingle and things like that. It's a really awesome show, but the name of the show is How I Met Your Mother, and they have 8 seasons leading up to it, and then in the end of the 8th season, he meets we finally meet his future wife.
Yep.
Ted hasn't met her yet, if I'm recalling that correctly. Beginning of season 9 or middle of season 9, I don't even know.
He met her, I want to say middle.
So he finally,
but there's like intermingling, like before, like clips before and after the specific episodes of them like flashing back to specific stories and stuff like that. But in the timeline of what's actually happening in real time with the series, if you're following it forward in time, then yeah, I don't think he meets her until like there's like the last 2 or 3 episodes.
It doesn't really matter. If you're watching this, you probably know what is
Yeah.
happening with the show or what happened with the show. The entire series leads up to it with half of a season, maybe a little more. He finally meets his to-be wife. They spend the entire last season, all but like 3 episodes of a 20-episode season, on Barney and Robin's wedding.
Yep.
And then,
Like the 2 days leading up to it.
An episode later, they get divorced.
Yep.
And it's just like, I think over the span of months watching it, if you watched it in on broadcast television or whatever,
Yep.
it probably is not as much of a slap in the face. But when you watch it back to back to back and you're binging through it and you end up watching this season in like a week or 2 weeks period of time,
Yep.
it is a slap in the face to the audience because, oh, they were together, then they broke up, then he proposed. Now they're married. Wait a second, they're divorced now. And just drove me insane. That plot point and the fact that we spend all this time leading up to the mom. We finally meet her. She's around for a handful of episodes, and then she's gone.
Yep.
And again, slap in the face to the audience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So great overall show. The last season had, I looked it up one time, according to IMDb, the last season has like 8 of the worst rated of the worst rated 10 episodes, like 8 of them are in the last season.
Wow.
So
that makes sense to me. Yeah. It was the weakest season, to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was completely annoying. So, I mean, did you have similar
Oh,
feelings
yeah.
on that?
Yeah, similar feelings for sure. I mean, the thing is that the timeline is very jarring, like you said. Like, they spend all but 3, basically 2 or 3 episodes of season 9 on 2 or 3 days leading up to Barney and Robin's wedding. Like, they get to the wedding and they're in like one spot and they're doing things. And they sometimes like jump back to like them reminiscing on something that happened before, but it feels really disjointed. It's just weird. So, I mean, it makes sense. And then all of a sudden, you're right. In like the last 2 or 3 episodes, they span 10, 15 years right there. And they're like, oh, jumping to when we're old and jumping to, when he's actually telling the story to his kids and stuff like that. And it's just so jarring. It really is. And then also just, I mean, I think that one of the strong points of the actual series throughout was that they had these little stories going here and there. And honestly, I thought that it got slower when they did things like, oh, hey, Lily gets pregnant and Marshall and Barney are stuck in Atlantic City, I think they were in. And like I thought that storyline got a little bit slower because it was like, 2 episodes of them trying to get from Atlantic City back to New York and do all this stuff. And I think that it was really nice to have that parody and just like, hey, if you don't like this specific story that we're telling you during this episode, great, don't worry about it. Like, we'll have other inside jokes and we'll have other another plot point to bring the story a little bit closer to where it's supposed to be in the next episode, and you won't have to worry about that because there's stories with like say Zoe, like there's Ted's girlfriend Zoe at one point. There's a lot of episodes in that arc of like 10 episodes or whatever it was when Zoe was in there that I really dislike and I don't go back and watch over. But then there's some that are really good and I watch them every single time I go through the series again. So, it just depends, but it gave you a release and it gave you the ability to say, I might not even like this specific character who's in this part, or this location that they're in, or even this theme that they're going through, but next episode will be all right. But you were stuck in the same location, and you were stuck with the same overarching themes of Barney and Robin get ready for their wedding, and just like everybody kind of meeting the mother,
Mm-hmm.
outside of Ted and stuff like that. A little bit of it was charming, but at the same time, like, man, we didn't even get to know the mother really.
Yeah.
To be, like you said, like them leading up to that plot point and that character this whole series, and then for us to only see her for one season and really very sparingly, or on the
even-
outskirts of the main story, was just so dumb. And then to have it be emotional at the end, it would have had a way bigger emotional impact with everything that happened, and then Ted telling the story to his kids and stuff like that, if we would have had more time with the characters. So I think you and I have talked about it before, and what we think is that Barney and Robin's wedding should have maybe taken 2 or 3 episodes at the beginning of the season, and then them stretch out like those 5-10 years and have other stories with the mother in the friend group, and getting pregnant with the kids and all this other stuff. Like, there's so much story to be told there.
Yeah.
That would have been fun, but they just turned it into like a nostalgic look back on their relationship.
Yeah.
That was on the side of the main plot point.
No, you draw. I mean, in my opinion, I say shorten up that season and then do a final like season where you draw out Barney and Robin's wedding a little longer, or not wedding, their marriage a little longer. You draw out Ted, and I don't even remember her name.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think in the last episode they said it.
It was such a minor character to the overall plot, though. Like that kind of
I
emphasizes.
liked the actress, to be fair.
Yeah,
it was a little too convenient at times, but yeah, I see. That's the problem. We don't even remember what the mother's name was.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. That shouldn't be what happens.
So you stretch out that, and then you start having where you're jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have an episode where the focus is actually on, so Robin and Barney are actually getting divorced. It's not working out. And then you have an episode, you jump a few years ahead, and they have the kids, and then you find out that she's sick, and have some time to be able to connect with it.
Yeah.
And then you give a couple of episodes to, or like probably just one episode to kind of, all right, we're done grieving now, and then Ted moves on to who he ultimately, I don't want to say ultimately, but somebody that he loved throughout the series of the show, in Robin. And then they get
so
together.
shoehorned at the end. Man,
Yeah.
that was so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, is that I think one of my main problems with this overall, and the reason that I'm frustrated with how that happened, is that they knew about the season and the series ending, before they even did season 9.
Yeah.
And it's the way that it was carried out. It honestly feels like a show that realized that they were going to end about halfway through the series, the season, and that they're like, oh shoot, we have to have everybody meet the mother and stuff like that real quick.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that I would have, expected on a canceled show.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that knew when its end date was. I think it was Jason Segel that ultimately was wanting to move on and do other things.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the main reasons that they ended everything. But I mean, they knew they could have created a better story structure around what they did, and I just feel like they botched it.
Yeah.
For how good and how much I love the rest of the seasons, like they could have done a way better job.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but it's true how often final seasons and season finales or series finales ruin shows. Like, Scrubs actually had a decent one, but then they're like, no, ABC's going to reboot it.
Yeah.
And then it was terrible. And
they add on to it.
A teaching hospital? Come on. Scrubs and ABC.
Well, it changed the tone.
Your
Again,
owner, Disney.
No. Or like Lost, where they just kept on adding more layers of secrets, and then they just kind of ultimately ran into a conclusion that nobody
Ogres
really
are like onions.
But nobody was really satisfied with the way that Lost ended. I mean, it was not, I guess it wasn't terrible. And I'm sure if I went back, I actually haven't gone back and watched it a second time.
Yeah.
Like, I have them all on DVD, and I should, but it's just such a time commitment when all these new shows are coming out too. But it's just, nobody was satisfied with that at the end being the way it was. And there were so many different secrets that were never fully fleshed out or had answers to. And we were really looking forward to having a lot more questions answered. Yeah. So.
in Hollywood or the overall movie and television making community, it's hard to live up to expectations.
It's true.
So
It's true.
that's our impromptu take a shot for the week. That's the cheap shot in Cheap Shot Cinema, I guess you can say.
You're welcome.
Wasn't really planning on that, so that was cool, fun. What else do you want to talk about?
And I mean, news just broke that Brie Larson is in talks, not officially signed on, but in talks to play Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe. So that's cool. Not as many people know about Captain Marvel's character.
I know very little myself.
That's fine. I mean, as far as I remember, there's different origins for a lot of different characters. But as far as I remember, she was actually like in the Air Force, kind of like Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, or something like that. And then she actually became more of a space police.
Space police.
Well, I mean, she's got superpowers. I think her powers originate from Kree things that happened.
Reference Guardians of the Galaxy for Kree.
As far as I remember, I think she found a Kree that had some kind of powers, and he transferred his powers to her, or, something like that. Something happened to that extent where she got Kree powers, and so she can fly. She's got lots of different really, really powerful abilities.
Yeah.
It makes her a real big heavy hitter, kind of like a Vision in the Marvel universe. So that's cool. And honestly, she's more space-based. So honestly, I've just been really excited for them to flesh out this character because I want to know more about her, and I want Marvel to move into the space realm because I feel like that's a huge not undiscovered, but
just untapped.
Yeah, untapped spot in comic books. I mean, they tried to do it with Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds, but they failed fairly miserably. I mean, I didn't hate the thing, but it definitely felt like they could have done a lot more to make that a cohesive story.
I hated it.
I mean, but I trust Marvel. So, and honestly, Brie Larson is a very good actress. I've not seen her in a lot of stuff, but I've heard just amazing things about her. I know that she was recently in Room, not The Room, just Room. And did she get an Oscar nod for that or something like that?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She won. Best actress.
Yeah, so no big deal there. Just going to maybe have the best actress of the year signed on to do a Marvel movie. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's really exciting, and I'm really happy that they hopefully are finding somebody to be able to make that character really great, because I feel like that's one of the central characters that they can really flesh out and make into a big heavy hitter once, like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and a couple other actors and actresses move on from the first couple phases of Marvel. Yeah. Scarlett Johansson's not going to be around forever. Hawkeye.
Well,
like Hawkeye and Hulk and, just a couple different characters have been around since before Avengers. And who knows when their time's up. And then Captain Marvel can help boost the ranks of herself and Ant-Man, and a lot of other these characters that are newer to the universe. So
yeah, I've mentioned it before. RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. For those who don't know,
he needed to shorten it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Anyways, he's just starting to look old. I really notice it, and part of it was he got the crap kicked out of him a couple times in Civil War. But he's starting to look old.
Don Cheadle's also starting to look old.
I really
he also got the crap kicked out of him in Civil War.
Yeah, but
more so than that.
You can really start seeing his hair's receding and he's graying, which I don't think that was intentional. So
no, I don't. But honestly, he's kind of moving into more of a supporting mentor role with Spider-Man and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe Infinity War Part 1 and 2 will be his last action scenes, possibly.
Yeah.
Not that it's hard for them to shoot him in action scenes. He's not physically in the suit.
And
he is
physically flying.
Show his face.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Besides that, they could have anybody, or they could just make that
every time
animated.
I watch behind the scenes, it completely ruins movies for me, because it's like, oh, Chris Evans is actually not even in the shot.
Yep.
He's some random guy doing flips is doing that. And it's just and he does he probably does more of his stunts than most people, but it's just so, it takes you out of it when it's
true.
just Like they're actually not flying and they're just standing in a room with a picture of their face, and then they, CGI in some electronical screenshots over them and
Yep.
stuff like that. And it's just like,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, honestly, that's the thing is that, with our ability to watch trailers 100 times and analyze them, and for us to see behind the scenes footage that we might not have seen had we not bought the video or DVD or whatever it is, we have a lot of access to stuff that we didn't have before. And honestly, it kind of brings the magic out of certain movies. So, I mean, you could say that we're being spoiled and that we're getting more and more, wanting big, huge blockbuster movies to the point where if Civil War doesn't make $1 billion and it's a flop, it's like, are you kidding me? It's $1 billion.
yeah.
That's huge.
Well,
So,
when you're spending $1 billion to make,
well, they
them,
didn't, but it's.
they're
I mean,
spe-
they
they're
could make a
spending
fair.
a lot of money.
They're going to spend $1 billion making Infinity War. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So it's, but
Yeah,
either
they'll
way,
make more than that.
I feel like we are getting a little bit more spoiled as far as movies are concerned.
Well,
So
our expectations are always.
Mhm.
I don't know how high
Well,
the camera goes.
to the point where we are getting the best actress of 2015. Yeah, 2015.
2015.
Who's going to be joining the Marvel Universe. That's awesome. I hope that people talk about that for a while because that's a huge get for Marvel.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is kind of stereotypical of you go for. It goes one of two ways. You either start in that realm of legitimacy and trying to go for those awards and honors, and then you move into making your money because that she's gonna make
Yeah, she'll make a lot
boatloads
of
of
money.
money.
Yeah.
Or you kind of do it in reverse where you start out and I feel like Chris Evans will probably move more into some serious roles after this, and he's done some actually pretty good stuff.
I think he's done with acting after Marvel.
Really?
I think that's what he said.
Whatever. That's what a lot of people say, and then they're like, "Oh wait, I like money."
Well, I mean, he's technically Hydra agent now, so
Oh yeah, that was just a side story. That's in the comic books. That's not.
Are you sure?
Everything's canon, so I can't say it's not canon.
The first. What am I saying? The first
I don't know
edition,
what you're
the first comic book in the series of the new Captain America series, it only had one comic book so far, and that's when they revealed that he was part of Hydra. So he could actually be a Hydra agent. Like that's what they're saying. They're saying he's not a clone, he's not this or that, and they could just be throwing us off the trail.
That's stupid.
Or he could really be a Hydra agent.
Yeah,
this whole time.
and destroyed Hydra on
This whole
multiple
time.
occasions. So
Yeah, that's the thing is that he did a lot of good for people who were fighting Hydra.
So you telling me that Hydra actually built all those ships in
I haven't watched
Winter
it
Soldier
yet.
just so Cap
Well,
could destroy
okay.
them to make him think,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money to spend on a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing is that, hopefully this won't affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. I can't imagine that they would make Chris Evans go dark and be a Hydra agent. That'd be dumb.
That would
But
piss a lot of people off.
They can do whatever they want to sell comic books. That's fine. Whatever.
Well, the thing is, the comic it kind of sucks and it's kind of interesting, but the comic books are living and dying by the movies now, and they're making
It's
the
true.
comic books now based on the storylines of the movies, which the movies should have been based on comic books, but they really weren't. But now they're building comic books off of the movie storylines because they realize that's how they're going to make money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've talked about this before. It's not necessarily about quality. It's about making money. So there it is. I mean, and you can argue with me about the logistics of, well, it's got to be quality to make money. Not necessarily. They just need to know what you guys are going to go out to see. So
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's why
honestly,
we keep getting reboots and remakes and stuff like that.
I still think that the comic books are paving their own trail. Like they might have changed, say, Nick Fury's image to reflect how he looks in the movies and stuff like that. That's fine, but I do think that while the movies are very, very loosely basing their own plots on specific story arcs in the comic books, I don't necessarily think that comic books are going to stick to the MCU timelines or plot points or anything like that. They may change like the personalities of the characters themselves to actually mimic more of what's going on in the movies, but I mean, I think the comic books are still paving really, really cool new trails, hopefully, a lot of the time. And that movies will always be a step behind them because there's so many storylines that movies can make movies on.
But that's the thing, though, is like comic books have never really followed a straight line pattern.
That's true.
I mean, more specifically with DC, there's something like 50 alternate universes in DC.
Oh yeah, there's plenty in the Marvel universe too.
Yeah, and the Marvel universe has them as well. It's just not. I don't think Marvel is as well defined as DC in that. Area.
The thing is that both Marvel and DC always have like these alternate realities, so they can further flesh out characters in cool and interesting ways. Like you have like the Miles Morales Spider-Man, who may or may not actually be in the same timeline as a Peter Parker that from a different comic book.
Well, you have
Spider-Man. Yeah, exactly. Spider-Gwen, all these other things.
That's an alternate universe.
Right, because she got bit by a spider. So, and then there's also a timeline where I think Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body or something like that.
No, they switch like consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousnesses.
Yeah. Conscious eye. And he becomes he's the Superior Spider-Man, I think it is.
Yeah.
So there's all these different things, and they branch out and they say like, oh, this is a different universe, or things happen on a different timeline. And even with like the DC TV show The Flash, they're going into the multiverse. They already did in season 2. I haven't fully caught up with that yet, but there's so many different versions of The Flash and all these different like people who are his friends in one universe and like a bad guy in a different universe with superpowers and all this other stuff. Really crazy. It gets kind of confusing to a certain extent, but they always go their separate ways and have all these different universes, and then they always have these big events that kind of bring them back. And most recently for Marvel, which is the one that I follow more than DC, they had the Secret Wars, which was them kind of bringing all these universes back together and fighting for survival in this one specific world universe. And then, they kind of, are going to go out from there again. So there's always these, they branch out and they come back together, and they branch out, come back together, just so that they don't have to have readers, just catch up on 20 years of comic books to catch up with a specific character like Captain America. So it's convoluted because they keep on trying to do the same storylines with the same different characters, when I guess that's a good way of branding it and making sure that people are fans of specific characters for their whole lifetimes. But also, I think that they really need to do a good job of bringing in new characters like they're doing in the MCU and saying like, hey, these are the original Avengers, but we're bringing in now Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and Ant-Man and Captain Marvel and maybe the Inhumans and all these other things. I think they need to keep on expanding and just have those be like, like a Captain America, like a trilogy if they're really popular, and then have him in a couple big movies and then just let him go. I think that the less that they stick around for more than 5-6 movies, hopefully we won't get very bored with the Marvel Cinematic Universe very quickly, but we'll see. Superhero fatigue might come in pretty soon. Who knows? Zach's just getting fatigued talking about it.
You talked for a really long time.
I did. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
Where to go now? Where are we going?
I'm excited that Brie Larson is going to be Captain Marvel.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. I remember that now. Okay.
I'm sure she'll do a great job.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
She was great in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim.
She was Envy Adams. Yep.
Yeah. Clash of Demon Head.
Yeah. Have you checked the section called Clash of the Demon Head?
Aubrey
Plaza. Yep.
That was a good movie.
That was a really good. We should watch that tonight.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
There was one final thing I want to talk about. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Of speculation on who's going to be our next James Bond, which honestly, I think that's gotten to a point where it's just I don't really care that much, to be honest, because I think Mission Impossible and the Bourne movies are better in that similar vein of I wouldn't call them like action, not thriller, but like spy action, I guess. Yeah, let's call
whatever
it
that genre is.
Yeah, genre of like spy action,
thriller.
adventure, thriller, and it's just like Daniel Craig was awesome when he first started. Casino Royale is still a really good movie, but I think where
Skyfall was
they're
good.
failing is like the Bourne movies have better action and like better fight scenes and better gunplay and things like that, and then Mission Impossible is just fun. Those are fun movies. The last 2 Mission Impossible movies, Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, are great movies. Definitely suggest watching those. Whereas the Bond movies are just so proper still, and they got a little more gritty when they added Daniel Craig, where it was just kind of getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like with Pierce Brosnan and the gadgets and stuff like that. It's just like, it's way too ridiculous. The gadgets and stuff are cool, but that can't be the focus of that. That's got to be, peripheral, essentially, to the main character of James Bond. So a lot of people have talked about Tom Hiddleston. A lot of people really want Idris Elba, which I'm fine with either.
Man.
Tom Hiddleston seems...
A little too skinny.
He definitely... Exactly. He's
smooth.
He's definitely... super suave.
Yeah.
And he could
pull off that
Yeah.
gentleman part of
Yes.
the Gentleman Spy. Yep.
but I would think he would have
Gentleman
to
Spy,
he
yeah.
would have to bulk up a little bit for me to buy it. But it's kind of a side note. And so
Although Idris Elba is like the entire package.
Yeah.
Like he can be very smooth and he's also going to beat the crap out of you.
Yes.
And you don't doubt that for a second. Stacker Pentecost, I'm looking at you.
Mm.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, let's name...
Honestly, yeah, I think Idris Elba would be far and away my top choice to be the new Bond. Now, if they're going to go in that direction or have him be that, or if he has time for that in his already busy schedule, then that remains to be seen as well. But man, I think it would be really cool because I think that he would be just different enough from a Daniel Craig to bring the Bond franchise into a different direction. And I think that's the thing that I really want with Bond is kind of change the theme a little bit because I mean it's been a gentleman spy thing for so long, but the fact that we've had how many Bonds now?
It's a lot.
We've had a lot.
I want to say it's in the 20s.
Man, it's just there's been so many different actors to be able to play Bond. I'm kind of tired with the Bond character themselves.
Yeah.
I really kind of wish that they would do something else, but at the same time, I mean, I am more prone to watch the newest Bond movie than some other spy movie that comes out with an Idris Elba or, Tom Hiddleston or something like that.
There is something
that's fair.
Regarding just the name.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of works.
In the branding of it, that works.
Yeah.
And all the people that are complaining about, well, he's black, fantastic.
Oh, dude. Come on.
It's a petty argument.
He's
in my
also
opinion.
a badass.
I
Come
understand. I understand. Agreed.
Yeah.
First of all, I understand where you're coming from, but Bond was historically a brunette. Nobody cared when Daniel Craig came on.
Yep.
It's just quit it.
Yeah.
It's when they add a different Bond. It's basically think of it as almost a completely new universe with the same M, essentially, and some of the same characters, but it's essentially a completely different universe. Or you could go by the fan theory that the name 007 James Bond is literally just a code name that they give to certain people at a certain stage of their career. Like 007 has turned into the premier of the double O's, essentially, in that grouping of people. So if you're 007, you're basically the best. And so everybody gets their code name and number put together, so it basically just gets handed from one person to another. That actually is really awesome to think about, and then that doesn't matter then. So it's...
Well, and honestly, I mean, what we just said, like, if I think of James Bond, I think of Gentleman Spy. Can Idris Elba pull off Gentleman Spy? Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be a little more gruff.
Right.
But
I don't care. I mean, you can have fluctuations of, intensity or, tone to the movie, whatever it is. But Gentleman Spy is how I think of James Bond. He can pull that off. Can Tom Hiddleston pull off Gentleman Spy? I think he can pull off Gentleman just fine. Spy, you'd have to sell me a little bit more on him. So, are there any other actors or actresses that you could think of who would be able to play a James Bond? Besides Hiddleston and Elba,
I saw a list a while ago, and I'm trying to think. Who
like a
was
Tom
on it.
Hardy would be great, but I think he's too busy with other stuff, and I
think
honestly
Tom
don't.
Hardy would be able to pull off Gentleman as much.
I think he would. I mean, yeah, he is way more gruff in like let's say a Mad Max or Revenant or something like that. But wasn't he smoother in Inception?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, and he's British or ish. He's European. So
no, he's
okay. Pretty much everybody except for American actors can pull off a lot of different accents. So, as long as it's not American who plays James Bond, I think we're
I just
okay.
found out Andrew Lincoln,
Yeah.
the guy who is what's
Walking
his face?
Dead.
On Walking Dead.
Yep. Yeah, he's British. Yeah.
Didn't found that out this week. Couldn't believe it.
Yep.
Like, cause him and Daryl. Why can't I remember names?
I don't remember.
Anyways,
I don't
they
watch
were
Walking Dead.
they were doing something offset, and they're just talking. I'm like listening to them. I'm like, what the heck?
Who's British in there?
Yeah.
Who is it?
And I could not believe that he was British just on the face of it, because legitimately
Yeah.
British English, whatever you want to say, actors can do American accents, but it doesn't work very well the other way around.
Speaking of those accents, what do you think of the Doctor Strange accent that Cumberbatch has going? It's American. I didn't even realize that was him.
Well, that's what
for a while.
I just came to that
It's him,
conclusion at a point in time. I was like, that's him, right?
He's the guy talking about chakras or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end when he says, teach me,
Yep.
that's
so short of a
anytime
clip you can't figure that out.
Anytime people get excited, though, regardless of where you're from, it's going to sound pretty similar. Just like everybody, you can't tell where people are from when they're singing style of situation. Everybody basically sounds alike, and I think that's just kind of an excitement thing, too, of everybody's just going to kind of sound similar.
Yeah.
And so I came to that conclusion after, like, the third time I watched that trailer. I was like, is that Cumberbatch?
Cumberbatch's voice, yep.
So I really, since we're on the topic, I really need to see more.
Oh, me too.
I am not sold on that movie.
It's a little trippy, but I need more than trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like you're getting a little Inception stuff going on with the worlds and things like that. But yeah, I definitely need to see more. Until I see him show off his powers in a trailer or something like that, I'm gonna be very skeptical.
Yeah.
Of that movie. It's just it hasn't gained.
It's got an amazing cast though. Amazing cast. I can't imagine. Is it Scott Derrickson who's directing that one? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
Or James Wan? Who is it? I can't remember which one. But either way, I can't imagine that's going to be bad. But yeah, you're right. It needs to show me way more. But did you see the new Star Trek trailer?
Much better.
Yes. So much better when they didn't have sabotage in the background the entire time.
Sabotage is awesome.
So that was something that like you need to show me more. Okay, you showed me more. Or you showed it to me without that annoying
feel like
song.
Like nobody really cares about that movie.
That's
just the general feeling that I'm getting, because I feel like they relate to the game on getting a trailer out and stuff like that. But I mean, that I have no reason other than gut feeling to go off of. It just doesn't feel like there's as much
buzz
pop.
about it.
And
no,
buzz.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm a huge fan of the first movie. Second movie wasn't as good. But for some reason, like I don't know what happened, if it was the sabotage trailer or what, but somewhere along the line, I became way less interested in the new Star Trek timeline than I was before, and I don't know why. I really don't. It just stopped for me, and maybe that is like the subtle like lack of buzz that they have about this, or maybe it's the fact that there's other movies this summer either that have passed or that are coming up that I'm more interested in or are being heavily marketed more. I'm not sure. But yeah, you're right. I'm not as excited about Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah. It's just it's lost something. Yeah, they're gonna do a TV show.
They have Idris Elba and the girl from Kingsman in it as two new characters, and that's cool.
I know.
I mean, obviously that's great. I think Elba would be an amazing bad guy in Star Trek, but I mean at the same time, like I'm still not excited about it. Yeah. So it's weird. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like I remember seeing them announce it, and I was just like, and then like somewhere in there, And it happens occasionally where you just kind of lose interest in movie franchises.
Well, and maybe it's the fact that it just didn't look that much different than the other two.
Mm-hmm.
Like the visuals in Star Trek, the reboot by Abrams, like the visuals were amazing. Like when they came out of Lightspeed
Hyperspace?
into Lightspeed. Hyperspace is Star Wars, man. Come on.
Okay,
They came out of Lightspeed
sorry, guys.
and into basically the battleground with all the destroyed ships and stuff like that. They had to be zooming around.
Oh, and Nero.
That visual was amazing. And also when they did the Halo jump too
Yeah.
from their ship, like there was a couple scenes there were just amazing.
Mhm.
Star Trek 2, I'm not sure if they had as many eye-popping visuals, and now this one looks like it's more ground-based than those other two.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure that I'm as pumped for this one.
They
Maybe
keep
visually.
destroying ships.
Yeah.
Like that's
Well,
I mean, not cheap, man. Come on.
They haven't destroyed the Enterprise yet in this new timeline, so it's bound to happen at some point.
Well, I mean, they show it in the trailer. I think that's the
Yeah.
Enterprise.
I'm pretty sure it dies, yeah.
Spoilers.
Well, I mean,
guys
the
need to
Enterprise
watch
got destroyed
trailers.
plenty of times in old Star Trek movies and stuff like that, so it's fine. It happens.
Yeah, I never watched the old stuff. I won't watch the old stuff. I've
Mhm.
debated watching some of like the
Oh, man,
newer.
it's great. The old stuff is awesome. It's just a lot to take in. It really is. That is the core problem with TV. TV is getting great these days, but I can't take in all this TV crap. I can't. I can't take in 5 new shows and then go back on Netflix and watch all the Star Trek that I never saw, or all the Doctor Who that I never saw, or this or that.
You're just not trying hard enough.
Yeah, apparently not. TV isn't as big of a thing in my life as it needs
Yeah,
to be
not with
to
that attitude.
be a good fan of it. I don't know. That's why I'm so happy that we have reviews and that we have stuff like this where we talk about our favorite things, so that I can get good recommendations and watch a Rick and Morty. You know, when I would have never given that a second thought if you hadn't introduced that to me.
Dude,
but
Rick
now
and
I know,
Morty's
and it was
the bomb.
great, and it was also very short, which I appreciated. Thank you for only being 12 episodes long,
Yeah, and it's only 20-minute
half
episodes.
hour long. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm super excited.
I don't have to
Speaking
watch
of
a
things that we're watching,
3-hour episode of Sherlock Holmes.
So I've been watching Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically binged watched that the last week, and I'm in the middle of season 3 right now.
Oh wow!
And
Jeez.
yeah, like
Holy crap!
like ridiculously, guys, you don't even know I'm serious about this stuff.
Wow.
Yes, there's
that
a lot of
last week.
things that
Jeez.
aren't super desirable to me in those shows, but I got to tell you, it's not about the action and it's not about the battles, because there's surprisingly little of that. The best characters that I've ever seen. Like, I've never been so enthralled just by characters. The guy who plays Tyrion Lannister.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Anyways,
That guy.
fantastic. It's just the stories are incredible. Like, so I mean, I just started watching it for the first time and really been getting into it. So I kind of know the storylines and things like that, but seeing it play out and like you hate some characters and then you love others, and it's so unpredictable because everybody knows that those shows are notorious for killing off anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so unpredictable. People that you love die, and people that you hate stick around for a really long time. But yeah, I've never been just so like with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has good characters, but it's about the shock value of it. Like the end, I think it's the end of season 4 when just people you don't care. You don't watch it.
No, I don't watch it.
Yeah, like at the end of season 4,
Too much stuff, guys.
spoilers,
Too much
when,
stuff.
when you find out like there's this group of cannibals that are basically herding people into this safe zone, and
gross.
the group has to get out of there, and like that was shock value, and you're just like, what just happened, and you have to watch the next episode. Whereas with like Game of Thrones, I mean, there is some shock value. The end of the seasons are typically building up to something pretty big.
Bunch of people dying or something.
But I mean, in between, it's so character based, and I love it. And another thing I'm excited about, Peaky Blinders season 3 just came out on Netflix.
Peaky Blinders was good.
So good,
Yep.
good.
We
Cillian
talked about that
Murphy
before. Yeah.
is awesome. It's one of the most underrated shows on Netflix and one of my favorite Netflix originals. So definitely watch Peaky Blinders. Cillian Murphy's in it. Tom Hardy's in season 2 a good amount. I know he's in season 3 a little bit, but fantastic show. Don't let the name fool you. The name's kind of odd, but awesome show set in like early 1900s UK in kind of basically mob, gangsters and mob fighting for different areas of I can't remember the town, but super awesome.
Yeah.
So check it out.
That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, I'm currently going through a lot of stuff right now. Going through a lot of different
That
things.
was so serious. I'm really struggling with
really
a lot
doing
right
stuff
now in my life.
But I'm really picking back up on Broadchurch. So if you guys don't know about that one, that's David.
That's David Tennant.
David Tennant, yeah, and another, I can't remember her name, but very good other British actress.
I do like
And-
David Tennant. I've looked into that
David
just
Tennant's
because
good.
of him.
Yeah, and it's such a gripping story. It's a crime drama, basically, procedural if you will, but it's got a different tone than like a CSI or something like that. It's focused around like one
Good.
specific incident the whole time, and you don't know who killed who or whatever. It's like everybody could be the killer basically, and I like a lot what I've seen so far. So hopefully that stays going, but that we'll see. I'll check back with you guys when I'm done with it. So that's really good so far though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we talked about what we wanted to talk about,
I think
and
we did.
a lot more.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly.
We get off on
Then we
tangents.
ranted on How I Met Your Mother for a while. So
And then you spent like 12 minutes by yourself talking about the Marvel universe.
you're welcome.
So that was fun. I need a yawn button
Yeah.
or crickets. Yawn and crickets. Somebody get on that for me. Thank you. Anyways,
Nobody's gonna get you a cricket button.
thank you so much for watching our first episode. We're going to have a lot more stuff coming your way in regards to video and written articles once we launch our website. So that's going to be coming up. Please subscribe and like this if you like the video. And watch us in the future. We're going to try putting out, a few episodes a month.
Yep.
Something like that. We'll see how that goes. Really excited to be on video, and thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.
Bye.